Welcome to Your Brain On by Salience Learning. I'm Karen Foster.
And I'm Krista Gerhard.
So we're recording this the day before Halloween, big holiday, but under different circumstances this year. Krista, how excited are your kids?
Well, I have to say it feels a bit different, but everybody still has a costume in this house, and they are excited to at least get a few treats here and there tomorrow night.
Oh,
How
okay.
about your
Well,
children?
yeah, our town put the kibosh on trick or treating, so I'll just be doing the very informal approach of buying candy at the store and bringing it home. But that'll be sad. That'll satisfy any palate for sure. So that's gonna have to just be the approach this year.
Yeah, it's definitely different, but I'm sure everybody will still enjoy a good Halloween flick here and there. I know my
Mhm.
kids already watched the Charlie Brown Pumpkin movie,
Oh,
so that's a good one.
nice. So let me ask you this. Out of all the candy at Halloween, what is your favorite?
I have to say, hands down, Reese's Peanut Butter Cup.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a classic, I gotta admit. Definitely a big fan as well. I tend to go too with the Almond Joy and the Mounds. I'm a big coconut with chocolate fan, so it seems like we're both take two and the additive result is, even more enjoyable.
Yeah, chocolate and peanut butter, always a go-to in this house.
Well, and it reminds me of the article that we have coming out on our blog post coming up soon, talking about the best of both worlds, how marketing and L&D can really be uh, just like chocolate and peanut butter and really come together to make something great. So and that's really where our story started. It might help the audience to know which of us is the chocolate and which is the peanut butter.
Well, I will come from the marketing end of this. I think you would
Mhm.
clearly say that you're on the learning and development side.
Yeah, and our audience may or may not know that both of us played those roles in a large global multinational pharmaceutical company, where I was your L&D training manager, and we got to work together to create some awesome POA experiences.
Indeed. I have to say when you have a good strategic partner, great things can happen.
Yeah. Well, and it really drove obviously where we saw value for salience in the marketplace. Because unfortunately, as I'm sure a lot of the listeners can relate, that's a great engaging POA with overviews of either launch materials for marketing or new marketing materials. Doesn't always carry that same engaging uh, excitement factor. Would you agree?
Yes, I think that there's opportunity for all of us to really step up our game when it comes to creating learning experiences,
Mhm.
especially within the life sciences industry. Sometimes we fall into a rut because
Sure.
we're working a
Mhm.
mile a minute, you know? So, how can we create a good learning experience that serves the purpose of what we needed to do
Mhm.
in a short amount of time? I think there's always that challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I always had such high respect for you and your marketing role as well as the marketers we've partnered with at Salience already. Just the amount of time and energy and dedication that goes into creating some of those marketing pieces. I mean, it's a long journey. That those value props or vis aids really become sort of your best friend, right, over the course of time.
Mhm. Indeed, I mean, you spend a lot of time, with your head down, working with agency partners, doing market research, working with KOLs, subject matter experts to better understand, how to create a piece
Mhm.
that will resonate in the marketplace. So
Yeah.
the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into the
Mhm.
creation of a value proposition or a vis aid,
Mhm.
it really adds up at the end of the day, and so it's almost like birthing a baby.
Yeah, I was just thinking that with our, the recent just think thoughts of our kids with prepping for Halloween. It really does become this being that's so close to your heart and something that you're so super passionate about. And I guess one of the things that and I can share is what we've seen over the course of some of our time at Salience with working with marketers that have really become attached to those pieces is a lot of the time, and like you said, things are moving very quickly, just becomes a massive drive to uh, at that POA, when the piece is being presented or launched and talked about, it really just becomes a walkthrough of the actual piece, sharing with learners all that deep dive detail on the number of KOLs that were interviewed and the statistics and the passion. I mean, I've seen some marketers go for hours on value props that rightfully so are 120 plus slides.
Sometimes when there's so much great information, it's hard to prioritize what to keep in and what to keep out.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And what comes to mind is an analogy I've used often in conversations. I know you've heard it with cross-functional teams, marketing, learning and development, regulatory, when we're sitting down to really scope out what a POA workshop or a launch workshop could be, or for that matter, anytime a new piece comes out, what a learning design could be, is the analogy that, that marketing piece that you or your colleagues have created, it really is kind of akin to the tools and amazing tools and resources that are going to be applied by learners to do their job and help more patients. And it's sort of, if you think like the learners and customer facing teams in pharma are like per se writers, right? And the marketing team has created these amazing resources like a dictionary, maybe a thesaurus, maybe E.B. White's Elements of Style, and worked hard to make sure it's designed beautifully. It has a logic flow to it. It's supported by evidence, and those tools, right, are to go to the learner to, in this analogy, become better writers. But what we see, unfortunately, is often the design of the learning experience becomes kind of akin to reading the dictionary, right? So if a marketer or someone has this great value prop and it's like the dictionary, the way the information is delivered is if you just start reading, start at A, abacus, A, apple, B, banana, C, carrot. The learner is sitting in the audience being sort of, the tool is being explained to them as opposed to sort of the tool and how it should be used to be effective. I don't know if you would agree with that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think sometimes there is so much invested in a tool that you want to control everything
Mhm.
around that tool. What's the message that goes out? How does it, get presented? You've
Sure.
invested so much time, so now you're at the point where you need to communicate all that's up in your head, or all the research that's
Mm,
been done is on the paper in a way that's very specific to how you feel like the customers may resonate with it, or the individuals who are going to be using that tool will also resonate with it. So I
mhm.
think you know, it's like an overprotective parent.
Well, and totally fair. I mean, I think some of the the passion that marketers have, and but this is really where we talk about, peanut butter and chocolate coming together, where L&D and marketing can really be strategic partners, right? Because unfortunately, while that passion is rightful and justified, the attention span, right, and the strength of attention, I guess one should say, of an audience, right, for more than 20 25 minutes of didactic delivery is about where things fall off. And then really the return on that investment of communicating not only the research that went behind the tool, but also the value the tool can have in the field is unfortunately going to drop off. And that's where L&D can kind of be a strategic partner, a different lens to bring marketing into this expectation that, look, there's really a better way.
Yeah, I think, listen, at the end of the day, after you've created a resource like a visual aid or a value proposition, the last thing you want to be responsible for, in all honesty, is the training of it.
Hmm.
In some respects, because you feel like you've completed this. Now you're looking for somebody else to take over the reins. Like,
Hmm.
take something off my plate, please.
Hmm.
So where I've seen great successes is when you have a marketing team who trusts their learning and development team to do that for them, right? It's my
Hmm.
responsibility as a marketer to be able to communicate what I think is most important about my resource, how I think it should be used. And then I hope that my learning and development counterparts can take that information and really develop what will work from a learner standpoint.
Hmm.
For me, it's
Hmm.
about the tool, right? For learning and development, it's gotta be about how that tool is used.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, a good partner from L&D can come in and say can ask questions around how is this going to be used, or how did you in your research identify the best way that this piece could be used. And in addition, the L&D partner can turn to the users, right? Their field facing teams, their field trainers or colleagues they still have connections with, and ask, hey, how is a customer meeting or a customer engagement, especially in the virtual world we live in, with this tool really going to look? What are the questions the customer's asking? What do you want to get better at? And what do you want to know more about? And then it becomes more of a dialogue and really, kind of coming together with these mutual agreement that the expectations of what that learning experience at POA looks like can really get elevated.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely what our goal is, to elevate. Whenever we work with our clients, our projects teams, et cetera, we really want to ensure that it's not just about the content, it integrates the barriers to using that content well and ultimately focusing on the learner. I think that is some of the challenges we face most often is blending both content and learner. Thank you for listening to this episode of Your Brain On. Please subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Krista Gerhardt.
And I'm Karen Foster.
And we'll see you next time.